Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Disney Cruise Line Show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Warner, joined via Skype this week by my good friends, Associate Editor for The Diz, Ms. Denny Sunderly.
Hi there.
Dreams Unlimited Travel Agent, Elaine Edwards.
Hey, friends.
And producer of The Diz Unplugged, Mr. Craig Williams.
Ahoy, hoy.
And before we get started, just want to do my usual spiel. This, along with many other shows, is brought to you by DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com, of which I am a part owner. And we're asking everybody, if you enjoy our content, please consider booking your next Disney Cruise Line or Walt Disney World, Adventures by Disney, whatever vacation with Dreams Unlimited Travel. You're going to get the same price you pay Disney. There's no difference when you go through a travel agent. And we get paid through commission from Disney. So it doesn't cost you any more, but we're going to give you a shipboard credit up to $1,000, depending on how much you spend. We're going to send you a really cute, exclusive gift basket with lots of stuff you could use on your cruise. And but most of all, you're going to get the assistance and help of some extremely good travel agents who are very knowledgeable about this product and are there to help you navigate all aspects of it. And I'm going to tell you what, a lot of people in the age of COVID-19 have found out how important it is to have a travel advisor working with you. Because with all of the cancellations and changes, you know, if not for our amazing agents, you know, you guys would have been spending those hours and hours on the phone on hold, trying to get through to Disney and trying to sort through not just, you know, moving the reservations around, but things were changing. Policies were changing in the beginning of this day after day after day. So, you know, having a professional that doesn't cost you any extra, who has your back, helping you navigate through that stuff is really hard to pass up. So please consider DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com for your next vacation. All right, with that out of the way, this week we're going to talk about the best and worst of Western Caribbean cruises. Now, if you've watched any of our shows for any length of time, I'm sure it's been brought up. Western Caribbean cruises are my least favorite. As a matter of fact, I can't stand them. I don't like the stops. I don't like the ports. Fortunately, especially when I'm doing Disney, the ships for me are a destination. And I put that to good use on a Western Caribbean cruise. Now, two of the people in the room, Denny and Craig, are both huge fans of the Western Caribbean. And Elaine hasn't done a Western Caribbean yet, have you?
I have not. It's on the list, though. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we just got to put you on more cruises, I think. We just got to put you've done plenty, but you know, not the Western yet. Right. So I don't want people thinking she doesn't know cruise line. She knows cruise line, believe me. All right, so Denny, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
Why is it your favorite?
Okay, so some of it may have been the fact that our first cruise was a Western Caribbean. And so, and all almost, I want to say 8 out of the 11 have been Western Caribbean. It might be 7, but I think it's 8. And we just continued. Those are the ports that we know well. If we're looking at a time frame that can accommodate a Western versus Eastern, we'll go Western. That being said, if Eastern is what you got for that sweet spot in your calendar, you go for it. But Western, I just enjoy the ports. We don't, as I've explained on another show, we're not huge shore excursion people. We don't sign up at the port adventure desk. We're not up at the crack of dawn shoveling in breakfast to get to meet up with the group to go on the thing. We like to go at our own pace. And so at Cozumel, at Grand Cayman, granted, you have to take a tender to get into Grand Cayman, but at Falmouth as well, you walk right in. And so at Cozumel, for instance, I love nothing more than to be eating on in the outside dining area of cabanas as you're pulling into Cozumel. That is just a lovely thing to be able to see that entire street that fronts Cozumel. We'll get off the ship there at Langosta Pier, and we'll just make our way down the street to Palmares. This is our favorite restaurant. It is all about the Mexican platter for us at Palmares in Cozumel, Pete. So that is the light on the horizon, getting down that street. Grand Cayman, we'll just go in and tootle around and check things out. Same at Falmouth. We were talking just before we started the show that Costa Maya has been subbed in on the Western Caribbean itineraries. They'll give you a shopping guide for Costa Maya, and there are things to do there, although somewhat limited. It's a smaller port, but still, we just get in and amble around and then get back on the ship when we're done.
And you see, for me, I do not like the ports. I mean, Grand Cayman is okay. But I don't like Jamaica. It's a beautiful dock area, port area that Disney goes to. And that was actually a port area built by Royal Caribbean. And a lot of great stores. And that's all I will do, because I don't know. I mean, people have no problems. They go on shore excursions in Jamaica. It's perfectly safe. The fact that there are, this port area is gated, right? It's walled in, it's gated, and there are guys standing there with AK-47s because the area right outside the gate is not safe. So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm out. I'm not. Cozumel, you walk down that main drag by the port in Cozumel, and you are going to be grabbed. Hey, mister, come in my shop. That is not appealing to me at all. Yeah. And I don't have those experiences when I go to St. Martin and St. Thomas on the eastern side. I just don't have those experiences. And I don't feel like in Jamaica, I don't feel safe. In the port area, I do, because there were two guys with AK-47s. But Jamaica is known for being a very high crime island. Even the Sandals and Beaches, they tell you when you go to those, do not leave the resort, do not leave the area, because it's not safe. So so for me, the Western Caribbean just doesn't do it. It doesn't do it. But Elaine, let me let you throw some questions in here since you've not done it before.
So my big concern, especially when you're talking about safety, is I'm thinking about me as a single mother with my children. And so, Denny, especially for you, what do your children like? Where do they like to go? And do they like these ports?
So yes, they grew up on, going on DCL. So our eldest was 8 and our youngest was 4 on our first cruise. And absolutely, when they were younger, they were right there next to me. And here's one of the things I wanted to make a point to say on today's show. Back in the day, when we first started cruising, the shopkeepers in Cozumel were not as aggressive as they are now. When we went the year before last, there was a lot of, they were so bold as to put a hand on your arm as you pass. Mm-hmm. And for me, I told my husband, okay, now this isn't fun anymore. Like this isn't okay. Now, our kids were all right. they're much older now, but they too were like, So Grandma and Grandpa got a cab at the port and met us up at Palmaris. So that might, and what I said to my husband that day is that might have to be what we do from now on, because we want to get to that restaurant and we don't want all the, I'm okay with you saying, hey, come on into my shop. I've got something for you. And I can look at you and say, no, thanks. Appreciate it. And keep on walking. But when you start to put a hand on one of my family members, that's when we have a bit of a discussion. We have a moment. And so, yes, for little ones now going to Cozumel, I would really weigh that out. Maybe try it at first, and then you'll know, I'm not. Because it is all about getting you into their shop. That is their sole purpose in that moment. And they don't take no right off the bat.
Yeah. And see, for me, I feel like in that sort of situation, I would be most comfortable just booking an excursion through DCL. And I know that I've got lots of people around me and I will be taken care of.
Yep, absolutely.
And I just want to reiterate where Jamaica is concerned. I have never heard one report of there being a problem on a shore excursion, right? Where you're on the ship, you get off the ship, you meet your group, you get on a bus, you go to a shore excursion, you come back. Never heard of any problems with that. So I don't want people thinking that, it's dangerous to do shore excursion. It's not. It's not. It's me. I'm like, okay, if AK-47s are a requirement here for their security, no, I'm just not interested. I'm not interested. And I can get away with that on a Disney ship because the ship is my, that's a great time to book spa appointments. You want to save money on spa treatments? Do it on a port day. So, that's how I've learned to kind of get along with Western Caribbeans. A lot of times I end up, it's just like this weird thing that happens where like either it's, we're doing one of our group cruises or something else happens or I'm invited on a cruise and they're always Western Caribbeans. And I'm like, oh my God, what is the universe trying to tell me? So I've gotten very good at just navigating the ship on those port days, but I don't want to leave people with the impression that going on shore excursions in Jamaica is unsafe. And in Cozumel, they'll absolutely reach out and grab your arm. I mean, they're not going to attack you.
Mm-mm.
So, but still, I don't like being touched. Go ahead, Craig.
Well, see, I was the other person that Pete was alluding to that said loved Western Caribbean. I despise Eastern Caribbean. I've done 2 of them, and I don't ever see a need to go back to either, like any of the islands that I've been to with that. I don't mind St. Martin, but I do not care for St. Thomas at all. With the Western Caribbean, I know I've definitely been to Cozumel a bunch of times, as well as Falmouth now. I know I've been to Grand Cayman, but I couldn't even tell you my experience there. It was that unforgettable for me. With Cozumel, with all the places, I think the difference for me with this, I don't cruise like a normal person. I don't get off the ship and go look for deals. And as we've talked about on other shows, I haven't done excursions at all either. So what do I do when I get off at these ports? I am a terrible person to follow on this, but I learned it from the best, Corey Martin. Just find some random streets to walk down and get to see what the local areas are. Like you can tell right away if you're venturing into an unsafe area and turn around. But at least with Cozumel, I've done that 3 times now and I've never had any issues. It's obnoxious walking through the shopping areas, and then as soon as you get off that strip, always with me with Cozumel, then it just turns into this great relaxing area, like the restaurant Denny always talks about. I've been there on one of the cruises, I think the 2014 podcast cruise. I went with a big group there. It's like, and that is about as off the beaten path as you can get, because it's a hike there. And like when the Corey and I experienced when we found the food truck where they were cooking fish outside on the back of a pickup truck on like little mini grills and stuff. Like that's just, it's places, they're not in dangerous areas at all, but you sometimes have to search them out. So that's that for me. Like, I don't mind Cozumel. With Jamaica, I will admit, going outside of the gate in Jamaica is nerve-wracking.
Well, let me just let people know that there are actually 2 cruise ports in Jamaica. There's Falmouth, which is the one we're talking about. That's where Disney stops. Then there's Ocho Rios. And that's where Carnival stops. And when I did my first Carnival cruise back in January, that's where we went. And I said, oh, let me get, I really like the port in Falmouth. Let me see how this is. Oh, my God. I mean, it was, I'm sorry, it was a slum. It was a slum.
Well,
it was dirty.
Been there for a while, right?
Well,
I mean, that's not new.
I don't know. But
I don't know.
I'll never go back again because it was dirty. It was run down. People, they were smoking weed everywhere. And I'm like, oh, hell no. No. So we literally got off the ship. I did a circle to see what it was, and I got back on the ship. I'm like, I don't want any part of this. But, Craig, you say, you despise the Eastern. I love St. Martin. I think St. Martin is awesome. I think there's a lot of great things to do on St. Martin. You have the Dutch side, you have the French side. There's all sorts of cool shore excursions there. St. Thomas, for me, I love the shopping in St. Thomas, which we need to do a dedicated show soon on shopping in port. Really, for me, St. Thomas is that excursion over to St. John. That you just have to see. That's the most beautiful island I've been on in the Caribbean. And then Southern Caribbean, I think, beats both of them. Both Eastern and Western. Southern Caribbean was incredible. But Western, ugh. So Elaine, let me throw it back over to you for some questions.
The Western and the Eastern, these run year round on the Fantasy, and they just, for the most part, they just flip-flop back and forth year round. And so is there a favorite time of year that you like to go on a Western Caribbean cruise?
We personally like December. It's not too hot and it's not too chilly. And coming from Maryland, it was warmer than where we were coming from. So it was nice to kind of take off the jackets and the sweaters and pack those away and get to wear your summery stuff in the middle of December. It was perfect. And that being said, it's funny to have cruised because the majority of our cruises, as we've said in the past, were in the Christmas time frame. It's fun to kind of like to go on the cruise in February. That was really interesting because the water at Castaway was colder in February than I was used to in, say, December. We've also cruised in May, and it's hotter on top deck in May. So that was interesting. So I do kind of enjoy that December time frame the most. What about you, Craig?
I'm trying to think about it, and I know I've done Eastern Caribbean in like September, and then once I want to say in May, and a lot more summer dates. In Western, I've only done Western Caribbean itineraries in December and January, and they've been wonderful. The Western Caribbean has always been wonderful. So now I'm trying to think and correlate it in my head is maybe the reason why I don't really care for Eastern Caribbean, that I've only been during super hot times of the year, and that's playing into it, because that very well could be the case, because as I've said on other shows, to me, fall into winter is the best time to cruise. It's when you're still getting that perfect temperature in the Caribbean, but where you're coming from, it might be cold, it might be okay, but it's still great in the Caribbean at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, if we're talking Disney cruises, I don't care. I mean, I do prefer fall, winter. But I have no trouble doing, if that's the opportunity, spring, summer, fine. There's air conditioning. So and like I said, especially if it's Western Caribbean, I'm not getting off the ship anyhow. So, I'll sit inside, the spa's air conditioned. But, we live in Florida, so it's not like we're coming from a certain climate and we're going into this oppressive, god awful heat. I mean, that's just a Wednesday here in Orlando. So, although right now, I'll tell you, the weather is absolutely gorgeous. It has last couple days has been absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely.
But generally speaking, we're talking spring, summer. It's going to be hot here. It's going to be hot there. It's just going to be hot. So, if I can be hot in a Disney cruise, I'd rather do that. So, whether it's Western or Eastern. But what else? What else we want to mention about Western?
Something that's neat, talking about the port at Falmouth, as opposed to the other one that you were talking about, Pete, which I feel like I've heard that name a lot, that maybe that's just an older, it's not a new port. So when you look at the difference between possibly your experience there and Falmouth, it's sometimes when you step off the ship, what they might have there at the port may not be exactly what you're looking for. But actually in Falmouth, they had artisans inside the port. I have this really cool wooden bowl that was carved there by the artisan who was there. He was able to personalize it, and it sits on my kitchen counter. It's what I keep bananas in, so that I'm reminded every day of our stop in Falmouth. Like there were legit artisans there, and that you could interact with. It was a really neat experience. That's why I said the port in Falmouth is beautiful. I love it. The reason Royal Caribbean built it was because of how bad the other one was. It was just so awful. And now I get it. I'm like, oh my God. And obviously it's more expensive to dock at Falmouth because of that. So you have sailings. I think Norwegian stops at Ocho Rios, and Carnival and a few other ones stop there. But more and more they're going to Falmouth. And yeah, if I never again. But Falmouth, like I said, that I love that port area. It's you get some, decent shopping. Not the best deals there because it's kind of sequestered and there's a limited number of stores. So they're not quite as willing to negotiate as much on things like jewelry and watches and other things where you can normally barter and haggle a bit. But they do have that open air market, which is really nice. Don't buy the Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee there. It's bogus. It's not real Jamaica Blue Mountain. Because you'll see the Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee for $10. Oh, wow. Yeah. No. But that I don't mind. I don't mind that port in Falmouth. And Grand Cayman is okay. Grand Cayman's okay. But Cozumel, forget it. I can't do it. All right. Anything else?
Well, I was going to say, Denny brought up the market where she got her bowl. I bartered for a turtle at one point in that market on one of the cruises. And I always, I have it on my bookshelf right behind me at all points in times, because I love going through, because in Falmouth, they have to be able to come into that market, they have to get their permission by the Jamaican government, and they need special access. Otherwise, Jamaicans can't just come and go freely into that area. They have to have special access. So it's cool to walk around and see all the artisans. And I am always the worst haggler. Everyone hates being with me because I'll walk up and be like, "Can I buy that? Can I buy that turtle from you for $3?" And they'll be like, "No, it's $40." I'm like, "No, I'll give you $5 then." And so I usually give up after 10 minutes and end up going and buying a watch or something. So it's a lot of fun. I do love that market. I forgot about it for a second. So I'm all in on the Western Caribbean.
Yeah, well, you haven't changed my mind. So, all right. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are our thoughts on the best and worst of the Western Caribbean. And that will do it for this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week with another edition of the DCL Show. Have a great week, folks.